But what do you think is
Right.
happening in that scene? Like let's just quickly break it down. What do you even think is happening in that scene? Like, why do you think
Plot
Clark
wise,
is like shouting tackle?
I from what I've seen from like following said photos and videos, um, I don't know what Superman does, but he's with Mr. Terrific, and
Mm-hmm.
Ultraman and the engineer attack them both. That
Mm-hmm.
because there's a scene where Eddie Gathagi, they stretch like a little carpet thing, and they form
Mm-hmm.
a scene where he's essentially also he's being pushed onto the field, like he's being gut burned, like
Mm-hmm.
carpet burned. Sorry, that's the word. Carpet burned to the field. That's the motion that's happening. But I think
Mm-hmm.
they quote Superman, and he's not like he probably is that whole theme of like he's not a registered hero. He's not really like he's interfering where he's not supposed to. He's too nice.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably have like this now a warrant to maybe bring him in. Um, and Ultraman and the engineer attack him, and so Ultraman, who is theorized to be a clone of Clark, is strong enough to tackle him like that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to the field. Because I know
Do you think
in
that Clark is
from
gonna be a former football player in this, like for when he was in high school?
mm, I wouldn't put it. I don't know. I
Because I
don't
think some
know.
iterations is most football
A
player in
football
this.
player. Wait to use your talents.
I
Wow, Peter
guess I
would
don't. I'm
never.
not entirely sure. Right? I think like it depends on the version of the story, but I think a lot of the times it's back when he's like super suppressed his powers.
Okay, I don't know. It could be, who knows? It would also be like, it would be kind of interesting to see him like kind of use some of his moves on Ultraman then, and
Hmm.
maybe say something to himself like, okay, just like the old days, then maybe talk himself into doing a move like tackle and then flip, like something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I do know from the said videos, the fight ends with him like he's down for the count. He's woozy, he's staggered. That's the word. The man and the engineer like kind of like circling him, about to give the finishing blow. He stands up, he says some stuff, and he takes off. And then that's how
Ah.
the scene ends. So I think it's like it probably was like a little ambush. And I think that scene leads into another scene they were filming where like he tries to fly, but he's so dazed he crash lands into the city, like into a
Hmm.
somewhere in the city block, and the civilians help him out the crater.
So
And
this is
then he
something
goes
I'm
to the
gonna bring
fortress,
up.
and then we have the trailer
Okay.
where it's like he's bleeding. Sorry, yeah,
So bro gets like messed up.
yeah. Then he goes to the fortress, and I think
Okay.
that's how Lex finds out. Oh, I know where you live.
So this is something that kind of comes up a lot of the times in Superman related stories, which I don't like, and I would prefer that what I'm about to imply isn't the case. But I don't like it when Superman has regeneration,
Oh, word.
right? Because
Like
when scenes
fast.
like this happen, right? When scenes like this happen, that's when I think the problem comes in, right? Because then you
Mm,
ask yourself, how come like his regeneration doesn't kick in? He's in daylight, it's not nighttime or anything.
right.
He's
As a
like,
matter of fact, shouldn't he be like as hard as like diamond? Right
yeah.
now.
So like
You
that, weird.
Yeah,
I
you
just don't
try to
like it.
like punch him, and then it's like your hand breaks, and it's like, oh, sheesh, okay.
So it's just like one of those moments where it's like I wonder if this movie would address that like why is it in a days for this long, I suppose.
This is gonna be another my Superman is on the level of a nuclear bomb situation where they're gonna ask Gunn, why is your Superman so fallible? And he's gonna say, oh, my Superman is not like exactly
This
comic book, Silver Age
mm,
Superman, which is gonna be weird to say if he says that because he based his movie on Silver Age stuff, the wackiness and the sci-fi,
mm.
and that Superman is busted. So
I mean, it's fine if you don't want to. You can pick and choose sometimes what you will take inspiration from and remove, but it does still beg the question as to like, are we supposed to track the events that's taking place, if that makes any sense, right?
right.
Certain characters, it doesn't matter. Spider-Man, for example, like regardless of who says what, we don't actually know what Spider-Man's strength actually is, right?
Yeah,
One
because
day
he
he
can
can lift a car with no stress, the next day he can't. It's
mm.
not that
Hold the building
important.
up.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not that important, right? Because a lot of the Spider-Man threats, it's not as though the point of the threat is the muscle related to it, right? Like Spider-Man
Mm.
is not fighting Doomsday, and no one
Yeah,
expects Spider-Man to be fighting Doomsday. There are certain
yeah.
characters that when they show up, we have the obvious implication and understanding that Peter cannot just beat Bro up, right?
Why did you
Someone
say
rocks up
that?
like,
And I thought of the movie, bro. I
yes,
know it is.
yeah,
Oh, okay. It's the monster. It's the monster.
like yeah, there's like I'm just thinking of people like, for example, when Hulk shows up, we all know that whatever threat Hulk is dealing with, Peter isn't going to be that much of an assistance,
Nope. He'll be killing
right?
our civilians, but we're calling Ben Grimm for that.
Exactly. So it's just like there are certain characters that when they show up, we tell ourselves, yeah, Peter can't beat them in a full on strength contest. Because I mean, people like the Rhino show up and we sometimes go, man, I don't know if Peter can beat this guy. Like, I don't know if what
He
Peter
always
and
has
this
to
guy going one
outsmart
for
him.
one. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
even characters like the Lizard completely overpower Peter.
Oof. Yo, Spectacular Spider-Man for me did a very cool job of showing how much of a lizard, how the lizard is a threat, and it's not just about like how strong he is. It's just like, bro, it's like he's a creature. Like he's got like the fangs, the hide, the tail. I think almost
The
breaks his
claws.
hand. So the claws, all those stuff, it like makes him dangerous to deal with.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that's
Instead
the
of the
thing that,
chain
like, his
that just made
strength
him big.
being sort of all over the place isn't too much of an issue because it's in a certain range that's acceptable, right?
Yeah,
Again,
yeah,
most of the time it's going to be like cars and stuff that he can catch and throw and whatever. Sometimes he struggles, sometimes he doesn't. C'est la vie. But you get to
yes,
someone like Superman now. That's where the problem
yeah.
comes in.
Okay,
Superman
yeah.
is like wildly different scales of strength. Superman can go from, oh, I can casually bend like a steel beam with my hands, no problem, right? Perfectly fine. That's brilliant. Then we jump to Superman catches a rocket ship, they're like a space shuttle that's falling from space, like no stress. And it's like, okay, that's a completely different feat from what we just saw.
Superman
Then
pulls a solar system.
I mean, I'm just talking about like in live action depictions of the character. I'm not really trying to
Oh,
think
right, right.
about
Okay,
the
okay.
comic books. I'm also want to talk about because what I'm working towards is then we get to some guy rocks up and he's like, I've got this electromagnetic net that's meant to catch Superman, and then Superman gets caught by this electromagnetic net, and it's like, really?
How? How?
What's going on?
Yeah.
What just happened? So you get moments like this. Like I'm very curious that scene in the trailer when he's protecting the girl from the crash.
Yes.
Like I'm very curious how will that influence his body, for example.
Mm.
Because then it's like, okay, can we then take that a step further? Him falling in snow. Is he really gonna be winded from that?
And the kaiju breathing fire in his face, and only his suit being burned, and him having just a few like smudges on his face, but him being spotless.
Yeah, like stuff like that. And it's like I wonder will we be able to look at this and be like, yeah, this is inconsistent or this is consistent. Because like going to Man of Steel, like he barely takes damage even from the Kryptonian fight.
Yeah, it's just doom, 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 and it's like nothing's happening.
Yeah,
Punch
and I
after
mean
punch.
that was a bad move as well, to be completely fair. We want to see some level of struggle on Clark's face that isn't just frustration, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Invincible does the same thing with Mark's powers, where it's like, because okay, let's take season 3 for example, where I am now. And spoilers for
Hmm.
anyone who's watching season 3. I might slip something or two, but
Yeah.
in the beginning, Mark is being trained because of what happened in season 2. He went too far, and he wants to learn to control his powers. So
Hmm.
Cecil's training him. He's lifting weights. He's doing speed tests from the moon to Earth. Um, Getting into lava, lifting icebergs. And then after this training session, in the first like opening 10 minutes, he proceeds to be dogged every single episode from then onwards. Like dogged,
Hmm.
bro. It's like, bro, like I get it. Like you invincible, you rise above it all, but like really? Because they play on this idea that like Voltrumites are supposed to be like very strong, but then they
Hmm.
also play with this idea of like, okay, Voltrumites are fallible, but they stubborn in durability and
Hmm.
regen, But it's like then what is the threshold,
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
there are times where like someone punches Mark and he crashes into the ground, his nose is bleeding already. And there's
Hmm.
sometimes where like someone punches him, he crashes into the floor and he's unscathed. He's like, okay, bro, what is this?
Yeah, and that is like one of the things that makes it difficult to track. I think that's partly why it's easier to accept Captain America can be shot like 4 times and not die. It's way easier for us to accept that because we feel
Metabolism,
as though
whatever.
a normal person could get shot 5 times and not die. So this guy who's better than a normal person should be able to deal with this much, right? But
Yeah,
because we know that he is still fallible, like that is still meaningful damage that can still put him down, right?
yeah, because he can still
So
he can still die from the gunshot.
Yeah, and from bleeding and everything else like that. He's still impeded and
Mm,
hindered. But when you do
yes.
get to certain characters who can just be sent flying through buildings and, taking all sorts of damage, it becomes very difficult to become invested in when they are actually injured and what injury is superficial and which ones aren't actually superficial.
I think that's when it becomes cool when some writers are smart about, okay, let's maybe take away from, okay, we know he's very strong. Let's maybe
Mhm.
put the focus on like maybe a civilian's in danger. If he doesn't do this, this will happen. Maybe some
Mhm, mhm.
consequences in there might make things a little bit more interesting. What do you think about that?
Or, I mean, you do some things like that sometimes happens in Hulk stories, right? Where it's like basically he bashes his head against a wall, right? Like
Mm,
let's just
mm,
say, for example, there's like a machine that he can't tear to pieces, right? And then he tries and he
yeah,
tries and he keeps getting beat up, he keeps getting beat up. And then you just see
yeah.
very visibly he's getting mad as hell. And
Okay,
he just starts yelling. And then he just goes back and tries the same thing again, but he's just so furious it works this time,
okay,
right?
yeah.
Like just something like that also kind of helps because it gets you now into a thing of the character themselves is there's some mental thing that's happening here, right? That's why when you get
Mm,
those really big rage moments in anime and the character literally does something impossible, it's fine. You accept it because they're just that mad.
yeah, yeah.
So I
They
think
just
that there
lost it.
is certain moments like that where you need to kind of also have the character reach a breaking point and then overcome it despite all the pain, despite all the damage. And I think that can also really help because you feel like in that, like, especially, I mean, anime does it to a cringe degree, but like
Mm,
when the character does the thing that was like, like they couldn't do before, but because they're really
okay.
mad, they can do it
They
now.
just do it
Then
now. Yeah.
no, but then they pass out afterwards.
Yeah, okay, yeah, 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 yeah. We're like, so
Like
let's
that
just
as
say,
a consequence.
yeah, let's just say like, okay, she can turn invisible, but she tries to make a
Mhm.
force field. She couldn't sustain it. She gets really concentrated to a match. She makes a force field, and then because of so much power she puts out, she just passes out. But she did the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
yeah,
did the
yeah.
thing.
Like I'm thinking of someone like Fairy Tale Natsu, right? Like when he does like
Yeah.
some stupid nonsense where he's like, I can't beat this guy. I'm gonna eat lightning. I can't, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I don't care.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Even though, despite the effects that it has on him, he'll go for it
Yeah,
anyway. Yeah,
yeah. And then he gets his little power amp, and then afterwards he's like in a cast, like a full body cast.
and he's like, yeah, worth it, worth it.
Exactly. Right. So like there are those kinds of moments. Like I think One Piece does it as well. Like Luffy is essentially invulnerable. Like if there's no haki, like I don't
I'm
care
another
if you're telling
dimension,
me that, oh,
Luffy.
Luffy can get stabbed and he can get cut. Those guys. Oh, at what point in One Piece do we want to admit that most stab wounds don't mean a damn thing?
Bros, didn't like Zoro eat like pain and just stood there, bro?
Exactly. And bros, like blood was everywhere. Right. So
Like,
like there's
man.
certain instances where damage actually doesn't matter in One Piece, right? But because how Oda sometimes tends to do it is that like Luffy's incapacitated, like that scene you're referencing with Zoro, right? Luffy's completely unconscious. He's done. He can't fight anymore. He's
Yeah,
he's he's kaput. Bro,
yeah.
he's like on the precipice of death. So it's like in a moment like that, it feels more tense. Like yes, Luffy is still made of rubber, but at this point, it probably is easier to kill him than before because he's just at that point.
Mm,
So there is a lot more tension there that you can feel. And again, he took quite a lot of damage up until this point, and he was doing just fine up until this moment, right? So I think that there's definitely a way that you can do it. And a lot of it will come from, like you were implying earlier on,
mm,
consequences surrounding the person with the super strength or the invulnerability or higher
yeah,
durability, right? The consequences around them, definitely a very big thing. Another thing is
yeah.
also to actually show them struggling and make that struggle meaningful. And I think that that is what James Gunn's trying to do, considering the fact that Superman gets dogged, right?
Mm,
But
mm.
you do wonder now, like, if what you're saying is the case, then I will be willing to accept it, like that he got ambushed and that's why he got dogged. But like, if bro got dogged the one time, why is fighting the second time going to change anything?
True. What does he do
Like,
differently the other time?
yeah, because that's when you get to that line in the sand where it's like you can't just make the guy try harder the second time and then it works because he tried a little bit harder. Like there needs to be
Yeah,
something here. There needs to be
because
something.
that's why I like when a very powerful character, let's maybe say Superman, let's say Invincible, they're very strong, very
Mhm,
durable, and they
mhm,
make them go face to face with villains who like make them I wouldn't say think, but like they put the consequences. Like I can even talk about the finale of Invincible season 2. Spoilers again for
Hmm.
whoever hasn't got there, who hasn't like maybe got Invincible. Um,
Hmm.
this guy won't say his name. He can open portals to different dimensions. He's in Mark's house. His mom is hostage. He's like, listen, do anything to me. I open a portal to the worst dimension ever, and I'm sending her through. So you better chill. And Mark has to chill. He can't do anything.
Yeah.
He has to think wisely about how to do things, right? So like things like that, where it's okay, I can't just punch my way out of this one. You know?
Hmm.
That I think those stuff are cool.
I mean, like that's the thing. Sometimes you can even have it be that even if you do punch your way out of the problem, that's not the point. Like that's sort of what Joker represents for Batman, right? And it's like, yeah, you can beat me up, right? And that's good and all, but like, how much are you gonna beat me up this time, right? Last time you
Mm.
broke a jaw, maybe this time you snap my neck or something. How about it, Bats?
Trying to
Like
try
there's
to
a
get him to that edge.
yeah, like there's some sort of purpose there as well. So it can sometimes be that yes, this problem you can just beat it up, but there's the moral quandary of how you do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Superman versus the Elite, right? There was something similar
There we
there,
go.
where it was like
Yeah,
you didn't deal with the problem properly. That was sort of the question, not him dealing with it or him punching the villain hard enough. It was more like the public perception of how he dealt
yeah.
with it.
It's like, look, man, you okay, you stopped the villain, but like he's gonna break out and do this again. Are you really being effective?
Mhm.
You
Which I
know?
still think to some extent the plot is a little stupid because it's like it's not his fault if the containment systems they have at their disposal cannot contain the villains.
That is true, you know.
Like it's not up to Superman to make the prisons better.
Talk to Lex. He's a tech guy. Go strike by Lex Corp.
I mean, just put them in the Phantom Zone. Y'all don't want that though. So I mean, what's the best option then?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's the Phantom Zone. There is that.